Good morning, everyone.
Okay, good morning. I need an approval, please, for the minutes from last month.
Am I a voting member?
Yes.
I move approval for the minutes of last month.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Okay. Anybody have an objection? Excellent. The motion carries. All right, let's move on to the staff updates.
And I wanted to introduce Ms. Simon from the Planning Department. She's joining us. So we've gone back and forth a little bit in the last couple of weeks on different stuff. And I'm going to have her interject and give a planning version or planning department's guidance during our presentation. We've updated with some answers to a few of our questions that we had from the last meeting, and then some new stuff to go through.
Excellent. Is that feedback coming from us or is that somebody on mute? Okay. If you guys could just mute yourselves, we're getting a squeal here. I appreciate it. Okay, are we going to do that now?
Yeah,
we're going to wait? Okay.
Is everybody able to hear us okay? I don't have a mic.
You should turn it on.
Are you there? Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Hello. Do I need to hold the button down? Sorry, we're working on it. I know you can. I forget how you do it. Good morning. Good morning. All right. As I said, we're going to go through with some answers to some of our questions that we had in our last meeting. If you will hit our slides for us. And next one. Anyone more? Again, that's our purpose and mission there. So nothing's changed there. Next slide. Expedited permitting is already in place. We talked about that a little bit. I'm going to ask Sanid, if you can update us on the Accessory process of permitting.
I know, is it on now?
Is there a red light on?
No, you gotta do it down. See right here? I don't see
Are you coming to help us technically because we're so challenged? Is that what it is? Okay, just curious because, you know.
We want you to, about the process that you and I were just talking about, the letter.
Okay. So what we the understanding right now is that Marcy gave a presentation in February on to the commissioners, and that was approved, and that process began in September in order for us to be able to go forward and do that. And it goes to our zoning department. Our zoning department then sends that letter back to community development, and then that's how our current planning is able to actually do the site reviews and everything else that needs to be done when it comes to affordable housing projects.
I think the question, Kelly, you had was how is the expedited permitting, is that done in Accessory or is it just the letter? I guess.
Right. So like at one point, we had like a colored piece of paper that would flag the application. Mm-hmm. Is there a flag now to expedite that? Or is there a box inside Accessory that would say this is specifically for a certain job? Or
by the time it gets to current planning, there isn't really an understanding if it was something that had to do with affordable housing project or not. That's done in zoning. So it would have been done before it gets to our department.
Okay, so, all right. So we're really what we need is a zoning person to then answer that question probably.
We're waiting on her response right now.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, next slide. And I'm still not sure. The waiver of, or reduction of the impact fees and mobility fees. The mobility fees were approved and are in place now. The AHAC did recommend reduction or elimination of those fees in the last go around. So I imagine we're gonna just continue since that's in place. I've not been able to determine that any impact fees have changed or not changed. Sunit, is that your understanding as well?
Right now, I think it's a case-by-case situation. They've said that what's happened in the past is usually affordable housing projects have fallen into different categories that have allowed it to automatically get these impact fees waived. So right now, what I'm trying to figure out is it because it's an affordable housing project, or is it because of its location or the type of property that it's taking place of? So I'm gonna get that figured out. But in the past, they've all been able to be waived.
And you're just talking about the county impact fees, right? Because at one point we were discussing school impact fees, and that's totally separate. We're just talking
I only
about
know county.
impact fees. Okay.
Yeah, we're not able to
Right.
do anything.
I believe that what we do is, for the school, we connect projects or developers to the schools, and they go to the schools for the waiver.
Perfect.
I don't think. Okay. Flexible densities, the density by right. The AHAC last time did recommend that affordable housing be given the option of flexibility, and that is done in some other areas of the state that we found. As presented right now, it was not adopted, but that is something again for discussion if the AHAC wants to look at that.
Is there a slide on that? There.
There we go. So I'm sorry. My apologies. Okay, any comments, questions on that?
This is Commissioner Starkey. Yeah, I'd like to dive into this a little more. I think there needs to be a limit, but I think there needs to be a carrot. So I'd love coming up with some language that we could put forward.
So Commissioner Starkey, this is Marcy, and we were discussing the other day,
the idea of inclusionary zoning. And so oftentimes density bonus is the carrot that encourages inclusionary zoning. So, for example, if you had a development that was putting up, 300 single family homes and it triggered an inclusionary zoning ordinance, it's usually done by ordinance, you might be able to say, well, you can build more homes if, you build, 10% or 10 units that are affordable, duplexes or a quadplex or something that is within the development. So is that something that you were thinking of? And I would say, I'd ask you two questions. One, is that something that you're thinking of? And number two, do you think that there is political will here in the county to do something like that?
That is what I'm thinking. I don't know if there's political will. I think someone would have to walk it around and see what we've got.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I know we have several developers on the call with us, but none of them, they're all affordable housing developers, and I don't know if they would want to weigh in on where they think developers would stand with something like that.
Somebody want to weigh in?
Trying to unmute. This is Jeff. Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Good morning, Jeff.
So I think that if you ask a number of developers, you'll probably get a few different types of answers. It's when you're developing affordable housing, a lot of times, you know, you're going after various pots of money, whether it's local, state, or federal. And inclusionary zoning is something that has been incorporated here and there. An alternative to inclusionary zoning is having market rate developers for every, say, unit they develop or something, put some small amount of money into a trust fund, some affordable housing trust fund. And then developers, like the ones that are on this call and others, are able to use those funds to supplement other funds they can find to build affordable housing, which essentially is building housing that people can't afford, making it affordable. So that's just, I just want to throw that out there as another concept or idea. Inclusionary zoning seems to be very difficult to make work practically. As pointed out, I'm an affordable housing developer, not a market rate developer, but I was in the market rate realm for a long time. And it's just very difficult to make pencil and for a lot of reasons. So I'm not saying that that's bad or you shouldn't. I'm just throwing out another way of looking at, you know, the situation. Instead of mandating someone develop X number of units, if they're building Y number of units, maybe say for every X number of units you build, or this many square feet of office, or this many that you put a little money into this fund that helps provide workforce housing in the area. And there's a lot of examples of that around that. I'm sure we could find copies of how other people have done that.
Right. Right. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Anyone else want to chime in?
Well, I do like that idea of building a little kitty that people could use. What do you think of that, Marcy?
So that only works when you really do almost a 1-for-1 donation, kitty, whatever you want to call it. So if you asked a developer, let's say that they're supposed to be developing 5 inclusionary zoning units, but they want to opt out, and what Jeff is talking about is usually the opt out. I'd rather buy my way out of it rather than build the units. In order for them to buy their way out of it, they really should be paying what it costs the other affordable housing developers to buy it, to build it. And so, you know, I'm not a developer, but I'm assuming that, you know, we're looking at 135, 150 perhaps a unit. And so that would be the opt-out. So if you do anything less than that, everybody's going to opt out, and it's really not going to make a difference financially.
Okay.
So when we were talking earlier about how you build so much and maybe you build a quadplex, maybe it's not an affordable housing developer, then maybe the incentive just comes from a regular developer in order then to put a few affordable housing buildings, units in each project, and that's where the incentive could come that way.
Yeah, so the commissioner and I were, you know, just looking. We were somewhere else, and one of the comments made was why not in the less desirable lots of a new development, you say, well, can you put up a couple of affordable units there? And our office or a nonprofit developer can help you qualify the people, because that wouldn't be something that you would normally do. But if you look at places in Virginia and Maryland, they do this inclusionary zoning so that the outside of the unit would look just like the houses that were up, it's just that when you walk in, there might be 4 units in there. And it's, so it doesn't look, at all different. It's just the idea that, there might be 4 units instead of 1 single family house.
And that's where I think we're back to the political will of the county to see if this is something that would fly.
So I think that, I'd be happy to, for our next meeting, do like I can do an overview of inclusionary zoning and some of the models, because we just went through this when I was in Burlington, and we had a big consultant, because we had in Burlington one of the oldest inclusionary zoning ordinances in the country.
Nice.
So they went through and they looked at it to see if it was effective, how many units were being built, things like that. And so I can go back and do some of that, and just do a little bit of an overview to see if that's something that we would want to include in our report as a recommendation.
Also, I have another question too. Could we put incentives on rehab projects? For instance, let's say, because I haven't had an opportunity to get up there yet, but I have understanding that somewhere off of 41 up by County Line Road and Spring Hill Road, that there's an old hotel that possibly has about 10 rooms in it that is for sale. And I was thinking, what a great opportunity, right? If we could get a developer to come in there and waive some of those fees and turn that into an affordable housing facility. We're talking new construction, but there's a lot of undeveloped buildings that we could utilize some funds for. Even if Marcy had a great idea, we were talking one day too, taking some old strip malls, and turning those into units. Churches are also very good to turn into small, 4 or 5 units inside one building. So do you think we could look at maybe getting some incentives on redevelopment, or is this all new construction?
So inclusionary zoning is usually new construction. What would you say to me for?
I was going to say in our US 19 area where we have a lot of the infill projects, those are automatically have incentives for developers to redo them and pay for them if they can. So they would already have that incentive.
Perfect. Good.
And this is Jeff. I just wanted to add to there. And again, I'm not advocating against inclusionary zoning at all. I just want to point out that that's hotel is an example where if we had a countywide kitty, as we're calling it, of funds where the county could come in and help subsidize a developer to come in and redevelop that hotel or single family home here or duplex there throughout the county and help provide that gap funding that the market otherwise couldn't provide. So it may not be a one shoe or one solution situation. I don't think anything's ever really a one situation solution.
Right.
Just an example.
Excellent point. Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else have any further comments on this particular subject? Okay.
All right, we'll move on. Next slide. And the next one is the reservation of infrastructure capacity. There was no recommendations by the previous AHAC. Basically, adequate infrastructure was in place. I know that's a topic people debate and argue about. So does anybody want to comment on this? Any questions, anything like that from our current committee? Okay, we'll move on. Next slide. And the ADUs we talked about last time as well. The county's comprehensive plan encourages exploration of some new alternatives that could include the ADUs in residential mixed use areas. The previous AHAC recommended no changes, Sunid, can you comment anything from a planning perspective on this?
This is actually very much encouraged, but it's a conversation that we're still in the middle of. It's nothing that has actually gone before the board as a final conversation. So we're still in the middle of that research, and that's where we are right now. It's just we're waiting for our director to give us the direction on the next steps.
Sinead, while you're doing that research, could you look as well into, and I'm going to be specific about Colonial Hills just because I know it. Some of the neighborhoods in the west have a property line that is very far set back as opposed to like Longleaf, where you can build straight up to the sidewalk, right? And I'm just wondering if there's a way that we could get that property or building line to be moved closer to the street. And the reason why I'm suggesting this is because you can do an ADU by building an additional unit ground level as opposed to going up. At our last meeting, we talked about the structure of the houses in the west can't usually hold the weight of a second story. And our lot sizes are so small that the only way we have to go is forward. So
one thing that I would suggest, right now we're in the middle of our land development code rewrite. And we talked about this. Right now we're just in the research phase, and we're about to go with it before the public in order to have public opinion on possibly changing some standards, changing our zoning standards. And this group is an excellent group to be a part of that conversation. But in terms of the Colonial Hill or any other community, we'll be going into as well to getting information. But I think this would be something that would be best for that conversation in order to help change some of the rules that we have when we're looking. So that way the public can say we actually want accessory dwelling units, and this is how we feel it can be done, is if we change that setback.
Right. Right.
That's a current conversation, right? To kick off in the month of March, April.
Okay. So maybe just I'm thinking forward down the road to maybe in the fall, once you have a little bit more research and stuff, we can get you out to Kona again, okay, and get with all the neighborhoods.
Anything else this summer?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So it might mean that this is due in May, so the timing won't be, but what I would encourage is that perhaps we can say as a group that we support the conversation and the exploration of, that we would join that. This way we are, that we're weighing in, that's what we support.
Yep, perfect. Anybody have a comment on that slide on ADUs?
Okay, next slide, please. Kelly, you took my next topic. So there's the zero lot line configurations. So the Pasco Land Development Code talks about that, chapter 400. It is on the county's website if you want to go into it and read. Generally right now, the way it's written is that it's approved by the Building Construction Service and then Planning and Growth. And I believe from what I read, the county administrator can actually approve that. The AHAC did not recommend any changes. I certainly think we would support probably like we just talked about, even though the rewrite won't be done in time. I think anything that we can support on that for affordable housing would be beneficial. Anybody comments on that? Okay, next, alternative transportation standard. So the modification of street requirements for affordable housing, and again, that goes back to the Land Development Code. There are provisions in that right now for alternative transportation standards. The comprehensive plan has policies that support the accessible development as well as alternative transportation options. The previous AHAC did not recommend any changes to that. Is there any discussion on this topic?
What do you mean by modification of street requirements? What does that mean exactly?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it very well.
I don't understand what the clarification of street requirements for affordable housing means. What would you want to change?
From what I could tell, it looks like they would, setbacks for things, sidewalks, requirements on possibly widths or other things. I didn't get a lot of research on this and couldn't find a lot on this. So that's something I still am questioning as well. Sunit.
I'm sorry. I don't know if it's so much requirements, but I think it would be more, well, yeah, actually I would say requirements, because we do a lot of encouraging, but we don't require a lot. And so when we're looking at areas that have affordable housing, we want it to be more walkable, as opposed to just, having 6 lanes and then we have to try to figure out how we get across 54. So maybe that would be what that bullet point is really trying to speak to. It's just how do we make sure that some of our places, as opposed to just encouraging, because when we encourage, we really can't tell the developer what we're doing is different. But if we require something, we can say we would like to have a more walkable community, so that way they can actually get to and use different transportation alternatives.
And I think this kind of goes hand in hand with some of the other mixed use development and accessible housing that we've seen, and that seems to kind of be a push, maybe back to the traditional neighborhood type with walking, those sort of things. So several of these seem to, that they kind of overlap and connect. So in one respect, you're talking about one topic, but it's all intertwined almost with affordable housing. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, Commissioner.
To me, an example would seem like something like as soon as you come across the bridge in downtown Newport Richey, where they just built that building that's been there forever, right? But now they're starting to finish it off, and it is literally right there on the side of the street. So they had to make some modifications on the street to allow for some parking on the street. They put out some plants and little, potters and things so people aren't racing across that bridge at 45. That would, to me, seem like a street modification that would need to be done in order to accompany a 0 lot line building, even though that's not an affordable housing project.
It's the same theory, right? The same concept. You're slowing down traffic,
Right.
And by having it at the street, it's more spaces that we can actually get to, as opposed to having to drive and park and all that.
Right. Okay.
And so that's can be more discussion as well for the AHAC. Next slide, please. The ongoing review process, establishment of a process basically by which the local government is considering policies, procedures, those sort of things that will increase the cost of affordable housing. I think the county does a pretty good job now of doing that. It is in the comprehensive plan that there's a review of the land development code, obviously the rewrite right now going on. Streamlining the permitting process for affordable housing projects. And the AHAC recommended previously that the review continue, basically it'd be an ongoing review to help affordable housing developers. So is there any discussion on that one? I think this is kind of just an ongoing, basically you're always looking at stuff to see how it's going.
I do have a comment. Is there anyone from this particular committee that is working with your staff on the LDC? For a very long period of time, I know this has been going on, rewriting this code, right? And I've asked for a couple years now if we could have public comment in there, if there's, how do we get involved to actually make sure that this process is happening?
Okay. So I'm in charge of that part. And so I actually turned my participation plan in this week. But to answer that question, yes, it will be very much open to that. We're trying to put together an advisory committee that will be including different groups such as this committee, to be a part of that conversation, and then also have general public meetings and piggybacking on different meetings that are already occurring within the county to do that.
Thank you, excellent.
Okay, next slide. The affordable housing inventory, the county's website lists surplus housing that's been, surplus land as declared by the board, that's available for sale. I know community development, will donate property if an affordable housing builder can develop it. Sometimes the problem we run into with that is the property is not in an area that's conducive for them to build, flood zone, those sort of things. So that is part of the problem. I wouldn't want to speak for the board, but I would imagine that the county would be supportive of an affordable housing developer acquiring surplus properties if they're able to develop it.
Commissioner, do you want to respond?
Mower guy has showed up, so I'm running around the house shutting doors so I can hear. What was the question?
We're talking about surplus county lands, and community development is able and willing to donate those properties if they can be developed by an affordable housing developer. I know the county maintains a list.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would think if we
I talked to the school district as well, and they would consider donating too.
Excellent. And you said we have a list of those surplus county homes. So is there somebody right now who's working on matching that list with a possible developer?
So I don't know how many big parcels we have. I know Melissa is working with a couple of our nonprofits, and we share the list of the single family developments and whether or not they want to put a home on there, an affordable house on there. I don't know that there's large swaths of land. The last large swaths of land that I know about is the property that went to the house to build Vincent House, and that was 10 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to try to build some housing on that as well.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
When you say surplus,
The one who has a lot of land is the utility department.
Yes.
For example, there's 200 or 300 acres outside of Dade City that they're never going to use. That we're hoping someday part of it will become a park. But they have property all over the place.
So need.
when I was asking, is there a difference between surplus property and just property that we own, just public property?
So I think that's exactly the point that the commissioner was making, is that there's time in the county process and ordinances where the county formally lists it as surplus, saying that there won't be a use for it, but there are things that are still in the overall ownership of the county that they haven't relinquished to surplus.
Perfect. So we're going to keep that as no changes then.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Next slide. And this goes back again, kind of supporting accessible development, putting development, transportation, employment hubs all kind of together, mixed use developments. The comprehensive plan encourages those type of policies that support that, as well as the land development code has the provisions for that. Encouraging residential infill where existing infrastructure is already in place. The corridor, so Need said the 19 corridor, some of those other areas that already have that, and we can develop those. Discussion.
I agree that we should support it as well. no changes. I think the infill projects are extremely important, especially in the west side where we're running out of land already and trying to stabilize the market as it is. I think it's a spectacular way to use those dollars and the land.
Previous AHAC did not recommend any changes, so just food for thought on that. Any other comments on that?
This conversation, has it included, yet?
It's interesting that you just brought that up because I was thinking that too. And I was thinking, how far down the road do you get? I think once a parcel is identified, then it would be appropriate time to bring PCPT in, because I know at this point they're not scheduling any new routes, maybe up to Shady Hills, but other than that, there's no reschedule due for any of their buses. That's a big event. So I think we would have a housing project prior to a new bus line coming on, but they did just put on that whole new bus for Moon Lake, and they're looking at putting an entire Shady Hills line up there too. So that gives a lot more opportunity to work in those areas where affordable housing could be a better fit, especially with transportation now being available.
Any other comments on that? And the next slide.
I do want to make one more comment.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Politically, though, let's take a look back, and Commissioner, maybe you can understand, help me a little bit more with this. But I thought there was some property at one time up on 52 that we were looking at doing as an affordable housing venture, and the Board of County Commission, with the exception of Commissioner Starkey, voted against that. So there's a lot of commissioners that weren't really crazy about doing a big affordable housing project in the areas that I just mentioned. So we've got to find a way to make it more politically.
Yeah. That was really unfortunate. It was, we were going to try and get in line for, get a project in line for competing for some of the state, I guess it's the state money, Marcy, is that right? That's that competitive bid process for affordable housing.
I think I think it was for the LIHTC, the low income tax credits, and I think what it came down to was the difference between an affordable family project and an affordable senior project, and it was the seniors won out over affordable family.
Okay.
It was really a shame that
Yes.
we had that NIMBY kind of viewpoint.
Yep.
If there's some way that maybe we could get these approved without having to come in front of the commissioners, if there was some formula that it just fell in, that I don't know if that's politically correct, but say if it's a zone that doesn't have enough affordable housing in it, then right, and it's put one in.
Yeah, we're losing you on the tail end, Commissioner.
Oh, wonder why.
There you go. That's better.
I'm just saying that seems to me that if there is a certain kind of zone in the county where there isn't any or not enough, it should have some ability to go ahead and move forward and take the political nonsense out of it. Be a staff decision if we approve the formula.
Right.
Yes, Commissioner, you're absolutely right. I think that goes back to the stigma that people still associate with affordable housing. And sometimes just going to see these projects that have been done in other areas can change somebody's mind. But political issues are things that we have to deal with. And as staff, we do what directed, but we certainly would support doing anything we can for affordable housing.
I like what you said, though. Let's get the formula right and then sell the formula.
Yeah.
This is Jeff. I'd like to make a quick comment. We deal with this blue sky. We develop all over the state, and unfortunately, this is a problem. It's getting less. Actually, it's not as big a problem as it was 3 years ago, but it's still there. And I'm sure as other developers on this committee and that you know would also offer this, I would be happy at any time to tour any or all of the commissioners or any staff that want to see any of our properties that are in the Tampa Bay area, which we have numerous. And I think what you'll find, what everybody finds, is that there's really, you can't tell the difference between our properties and a market rate property. And I would say that goes for a large number of the affordable housing developers that are out there working today. So if that visual, if that experience you think might help tilt it in our direction a little bit as far as an AHAC and a group of people that are trying to affect change and in this direction, then I'd be happy to take the time and energy to do that.
I think that's wonderful, Jeff. I think that's absolutely wonderful. And I think as a group, we should entertain using that as a plus for us and see, once we start getting a formula together, maybe after our next meeting. And Jeff, maybe you could make some appointments with some of the commissioners, even just to verbally talk and see if they have an interest in coming to see some of your projects.
This is Mark Wickham. I concur with that.
Excellent. Marcy?
And I also, just if I could add, I also think it's helpful from a developer standpoint to get to a place where we understand where from a county's perspective, where we would have the least amount of issues related to the development. So sometimes counties, as you're talking about developing formula, have designated areas for development that helps from a developer standpoint.
Perfect. Well, I definitely think that that's something that we should work on for next time. Marcy?
No, I was just going to say that, so every map and every statistic that is shown about the county shows that really there is a need for affordable housing throughout the county. If anything is, no offense to you, Jimmy, but if anything there is a concentration of is a senior housing in certain locations, but there's not a concentration of affordable housing in specific locations. And I think the most important thing we could do as a community is to have balanced housing throughout the county. Nobody would want the main thing that people do not like about affordable housing is they equate it with what was Section 8 projects. And they're concerned about of creating that project mentality or that project location again. So the key to me is to make sure that affordable housing can be built anywhere in the county, so basically you would need housing to be affordable for the workforce. So, where you have schools, you need housing so that teachers and custodian staff and administrative staff can live by the school so they could work there. If you have restaurants, if you have retail, you need the housing available for those people, and that's everywhere in the county. And so I just, it worries me when, we might take a stand of, we'll build affordable here, but we won't build affordable there, or we'll build multifamily in locations or not. The bottom line is the county is so heavily invested into single family home ownership. And it's really critical that we balance that out in order to be welcoming to everybody and to provide decent, affordable, and quality housing for all of our residents.
Perfectly said.
I'm done with my speech.
Perfectly said, because, you know, we want to be a whole county. You know, we definitely want to be a premier county, and we want to be able to welcome people from all walks of life and all economic backgrounds to our county. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Thank you for saying that. Commissioner?
Hey, Marcy, have we ever done an assessment of where affordable housing projects are in the county and you know, seeing what areas might be underserved? I gotta mute because my lawnmower is.
Yeah, we could pull up a map of that in absolutely no time, because it's the Schimberg Institute or even Florida Housing Finance should have all the developments that were assisted with some kind of federal tax dollars or income tax credits. So we could do that. I'll have that for the next meeting, or we'll send it out to you so you could all see that.
Excellent. That'll be extremely helpful. Thank you. Anyone else have a comment on accessible development? Okay, Jeff?
I don't know where this falls into the conversation, but the last commissioners meeting, I think it was last week, parts of the conversation, Commissioner Starkey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but parts of that conversation, I remember Commissioner Mariano kept asking if there's a difference between renters and owners. And I think when we're talking about taking away a stigma, I think that has to be part of that conversation. I don't know where it would fall in, but I think that has to be part of that conversation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you know, I started my career in affordable housing and helping low and moderate income people become homeowners. And I've done tons of classes on showing how, you know, home ownership is the key to many families gathering wealth, and it brings stability to neighborhoods. And that's all well and true. And I think that's why that's a core value in this county. And that's fine, but home ownership is not for everyone. And the fact that it is so heavily weighted here, I think does not help develop this county to its full potential. And so I think you're right. I think that we could recognize and acknowledge the benefits of home ownership without stigmatizing renters.
Yeah, 100% agree, because again, like I said, not everybody wants to own a home. Not everybody can afford to own a home or is capable of maintaining a home. You know, and that's really the biggest part, is the maintenance of the home when it comes to home ownership. You might make enough money to buy the home, but you got to maintain it. No.
And that's a good point with your workforce housing, because they are the ones that are working at your buildings, shops, restaurants, the corridor, the 54 corridor. Are they living in our community, or are they traveling back to Hillsborough because they can't afford to live here, or there's nothing available?
North.
Or are they going north? Right.
A lot are coming down now from Hernando for jobs. It's
Yep,
just
and
like we went down to
Pinellas and Tampa. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So we have to have the availability, but it also has to be affordable as well. Any other comments, Kelly?
Yes, Cindy, the MPO, are they doing any studies coming up as far as how many people are traveling outside the county for work? When's that survey come out?
I don't know the answer, but I can give that.
Okay. Because that was always such valuable information every time I went to either Dade City, especially when I would go out to Dade City, when they would have the big map and you put where you live and then you put where you work. And I don't think that the MPO has done one of those surveys for a while. I'd be curious to see when that flipped, or if it's flipped yet and we have a lot more people living and working here in Pasco.
Yeah, it's also a census. If there's something in the census, like you said, of course, the 2010 will be pretty old, especially because of all the growth.
Yep.
That when the 2020 comes down, there'll be some information in there about how far people travel in the county.
I think time for May to issue out in March.
Perfect. Cindy was in charge of the census, so. Winner, winner.
Next slide. And this is outside the realm of the AHAC because we've pretty much covered everything that they required, but this is one of the strategies that was highlighted that's being used in different places. And we kind of talked a little bit about the inclusionary housing zoning, greenfield developments that are creating new towns, basically, with the need for affordable housing. Everything is kind of all right in that area, planned development, planned units. Seen mostly in California in the Northeast, found 80,000 Californians, I guess that's how you say it right, Californian, live in one of these communities. There has been some legal stuff challenged on it, nothing successful. And the city of Jupiter, Florida was an example. I didn't really get a chance to look at what they're doing there, but that's something I'm going to look at. So any comments or anybody want to discuss this?
So a lot like the Urban Institute, the Urban Land Institute, that kind of stuff. Okay. Do they include brownfields with that, or is this solely a greenfield project?
I don't know. I saw just the greenfield stuff, but it's, I mean, I guess that's possible. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would hesitate when we say greenfield development for the simple fact that we're losing our open space. But but I think there's another community. I'm gonna find another community in Orlando that does something similar. Maybe we can kind of look at it to see if it's something that can.
Excellent.
And that was the final slide I have. On our end, we do have a meeting date scheduled for March 30th. We really don't have any more required topics. So I don't know if anybody wants to discuss whether to hold that. And then our public hearing is scheduled for the 13th of April. That'll be basically the hearing that anybody that wishes to can comment. And you'll make your recommendations so that we can send that to the county commission.
Well, I have a suggestion to the team here. I'm looking at this timeline, and what I'd like to see is if we could get some of the information that we were just discussing by the March 30th meeting, especially to Jeff, get some kind of ideas of what it is that we want to present to the commission prior to this 13th meeting. That only gives Jeff 2 weeks to get on the commissioners' calendars and make meetings with the other 4. So if you're still willing to do that, Jeff, you may want to even get on their calendars now before that, and then we can formulate a plan moving forward so that we're not going to get any pushback at that 13th meeting, because that is a commission meeting. Is that correct? Even though it's public comment?
No, it's just a public meeting for us.
For us.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the commission.
It would be probably probably have to be the following.
One of them.
The first May meeting, yeah.
So we do have a little bit more time then. Okay, we're not as pressed.
Yeah.
I would like to see us keep the 30th meeting. That's just my recommendation. Yep.
What we want to present.
Unless anyone feels that we don't need it, I'm open to entertain us not keeping the meeting if you feel we don't need it.
I think we should keep it, and I think maybe we should, just like we did the individual strategies, maybe we can have the recommendations, like the wording, so everybody can look at it ahead of time, and so that we're not wordsmithing and we're not debating during the public hearing.
Right.
So it would be, what the committee hears. So that means that it would be on us to
have everything
have
for
it ready
you.
for the 30th, along with maybe some information on inclusionary zoning and the affordable housing map. You could do that too, if not beforehand. And I just want to suggest, both to, Jeff and even Mark that are both on the phone, you know, if you, want to work, with me, I'm wondering if it would help to do, almost a Zoom or WebEx where you're showing some of your properties and showing kind of the work that's been done to talk to a commissioner that way. I think it might be really helpful. And I'm also thinking in terms of the first week in April will be National Community Development Week, and we were thinking of doing some of those kind of doing some WebExes where people can maybe do a lunch and learn where, for a few 40 minutes at noon, we, talk to people about affordable housing and show them some examples. So if either of you are interested, I would especially say, Mark, to look at Spear Village, and Jeff, I would want to highlight things in Pasco, and I don't know that you've quite done anything in Pasco yet. But that's what I would be looking to do. Mike, I think you're on the phone. We could certainly highlight some of the habitats things too.
Magnificent.
And we could invite all the commissioners to see that.
Magnificent. That's wonderful. Somebody want to comment? Okay.
I thought that was good.
Okay, I think that is the end of our agenda, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to open the floor up. If anybody on the phone wants to make a comment on anything, we'll start with you, Commissioner Starkey, since your name is up on the screen.
So I attended the regional AHAC workshop for elected officials, and I have been sitting here trying to find the follow-up email that I thought they were sending out. I haven't found it yet, but some of the other what they've done for especially ADUs, I found very interesting, but I'm sorry, I have not been able to find those follow-up emails. So I'm going to email that group again and ask them to resend the ordinances that are in the other that really help stand up accessory dwelling units, the inclusion of them in the community. So I'll be looking for it and sending it on to you.
Excellent, thank you. Mike, you're next up on the camera.
Just to, I guess, follow up on the comment about the tours or the opportunity to see some of the projects, we'd be happy to host out at Town and Country off of US 19, the project that we've been working on Leisure Lane in Van Doren.
And you're still looking for a recipient of that house, are you not?
We have one house out there that we're trying to match. Yeah, we had an issue with a homeowner that pulled out of the program after the house was nearly completed. So we're looking for a family to fill a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Perfect. So if anybody knows of family, get them over to Mike, please. Jeff, you're up.
No additional comments.
Thank you, sir. Mark?
No additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you. John? Is that like the
one that doesn't work?
That was very okay. John, maybe if you have something, you might want to type it in because whatever it was kind of like a muted sound. Apologize for that. Jimmy, something from final comments for you. No, you're muted, Jimmy.
Sorry, I got it. Could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Great. We have a senior affordable independent living community in the city of Newport Richey. It's been there for now probably about 16, 17 years. We call it a mini Hilton. If you see it from the outside, you probably can't tell the difference between that or a Hilton hotel because it's beautiful and we maintain it really good. And Marcy mentioned before, there's too many of these, I guess, in our area, but we have a waiting list of probably about 10 years. And our residents love it there. And we would love to expand it and build a few more because we feel it's a great need and everybody wins. The residents win, the government wins. It helps keep seniors a little longer in independent living than pushing them into assisted living or nursing care. And we're open to tours or to show you our property anytime. It's on Rowan Road, 6625 Rowan Road in Newport Richey.
Excellent, Jimmy. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you say you have a 10-year waiting list on that particular property?
It's constant, close to 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but the people love it. It's great for the community. Everybody, if you look at the numbers, everybody wins. The residents win, the government wins. We all win.
Jimmy, where was that project?
That's in the city of Newport Richey, 6625 Rowan Road in Newport Richey. And
are you looking to put anything else up in that West Pasco area right now? Are you looking to build anything else right now?
Well, we do have some land together with it, and that's why I wanted to get with Marcy one day and see what we could do because the HUD 202 program wasn't funded for 14 years, and they just started funding it, but they changed it too. And it's hard to find any consultants that are around anymore that understand the programs who will know what to do. And that's kind of my problem right now, because I like to expand it and add another wing to it.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm sure the two of you can get together offline and get that appointment going and see what we can bring back for next time. And then please feel free to reach out to the commission as well for tours. Get with Marcy and she can coordinate all that touring and all that stuff. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate you. There looks like there's one more thing on there. Is that just the volume? I can't see this far. Is Jessica on the line or is she? Okay, then I think I've gotten everybody who's on the line. If I've missed you, that you're not showing up on the screen, so please feel free to make a comment at this point. Dawn Anderson's on the line. Dawn, if you're on the line, do you want to make a comment?
No, just happy to be able to listen in, and we just encourage everyone to continue down this line as best we can, given the circumstances. We're in the midst of an effort to house 225 households, folks that are on the streets now, and we're working with an active list of 150 where we're ready to find them housing and have the money, but the availability of property is really is a showstopper. So working with Kelly, as a matter of fact, we've come up with an email address. When you see a property that's for rent, we'd like you to stop, take a picture with your smartphone and send it to rent, RENTIN, Pasco at gmail.com. That's rentinpasco@gmail.com. And if you do that, we'll immediately have a team member follow up with the landlord and determine if they'd have a willingness to take one of our clients, where they get case management, some financial assistance. It could be a good opportunity for a landlord. So we just ask that you keep that in mind as you're in the community. It could help us immensely if you'd be willing to do that. Thanks. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you so much, Dawn.
Yeah, I want to ask, whoops, sorry, let me turn this off. I want to ask Dawn a question and then make a comment, if you don't mind.
Go ahead,
So
ma'am.
Dawn and Kelly, over the last week, maybe, I don't know when it started, at the Helen Ellis walk-in clinic site that took us 5 years to get that doctor to take that condemned building down. We now have a homeless camp, pretty rough looking folks in there. Dawn, I had said that to you. If you go on the site,
Commissioner, you're breaking up.
Oh, really? I don't know why. Did
We can hear you.
Homeless camp on 19 at the Helen Ellis site the other day? Kelly, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you ask him that question?
He's nodding his head.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that, Commissioner.
Oh, well, I was just wondering if you went, because the site is growing. There's garbage blowing down US 19. I've talked with Kelly Sims about what we can do to get them off of that site. That's really, it's not like it's in the woods, everybody. It's right there on US 19, right on the highway, a homeless camp on a piece of commercial property that had a building on it that was taken down. I'm going to be proposing a change to an ordinance that when we condemn a property, it has to have a no trespass sign on it so that the sheriff can legally evict homeless camps off the property. Because right now we cannot legally get them out of there, Kelly.
I know, Commissioner, I've seen the tent. I've seen the people sitting there literally about 10 feet from the road. They are just right out in the open. It's not even an enclosed camp. It's there.
Nope. Yeah, it's a mess. And I'm sure you've seen all the garbage piled up.
Yep, I have.
So
I'll reach out to our partners at the sheriff and make plans with outreach and the sheriff to visit the site.
Yeah, that when they went there a couple of days ago, I think there were 12 men there in the camp. When I drove by, I watched 5 walk in there. It seems to me, I'm starting to recognize these guys. It's the group that hangs out at the drug house behind the Wawa. Well, I shouldn't call it a house. It's a travel trailer from 1960. But yeah, I just wondered if you had taken any action on that yet. What was the other thing? We had a national phone call with my NACO committee, and I asked Marcy to join in. And right now, I don't even remember what city it was. Something makes me think it was in Pennsylvania. Is that right, Marcy?
I don't remember. For some reason, I thought it might have been Virginia, but I could be wrong.
So it was a nonprofit group that helps get people into homes by funding the gap between what a landlord wants for rent and what the affordable housing program in that county can afford, and they fund it for 2 years. And I thought it was kind of interesting that now they have an endowment from philanthropists and the business community, and they use the money from the endowment to fund the gap, and be something to think about one day here in our county.
Could we do a GO bond to fund the gap? I mean, I'm just thinking in
who would pay the bond
upcoming
payment?
years. Yeah.
I think, so I made this comment, I don't remember where it was, but, if we're going to go down the road of discussing people who are experiencing homelessness, then you will find in our county that the majority of the people who are experiencing homelessness are single male adults. And you know, I think while that program that you're speaking of is a great strategy, I think we're working with a lot of people who would probably, to begin with, not even have the capacity of having any contributions. And what I would say is there's such a need for efficiency and one-bedroom apartments to house the people that we're talking about. And when you look at what's being built, there's so many tutus that are being built. And really, unless we could really start a robust sharing program where people are willing to, rent together in a location, we have such a strong need for efficiencies in one bedrooms to get the single males off the streets. Or something like something that was big, and I wouldn't see it working here, but in Vermont, what was really big is single room occupancy, because we have these really big homes that were at one time, shipping magnate homes, that had 6, 7, 8 bedrooms. So you have that big house, communal kitchen, communal bath, but people just rented a room. That's a harder sell for people. A lot of people want their privacy. They want their own bathroom, etc. And that's why buying a hotel and renovating it for efficiencies is so attractive, because that's exactly what is needed.
Hey, I wasn't meaning that that kind of program would help the guys that are living on that property, because I think those people living on that property on 19 want to live that way. I think that's that group that's so hard to get out.
Yep.
But I do think it might be a way to help more people get into a home when the rents are too high for us to cover, is to have some kind of endowment that funds the gap.
Yeah. Okay, was there anything else you wanted to comment on, commissioners?
That's it. I'll continue to look at those that language on the ADUs for everybody.
Okay, and I have a comment about that US 19. There's another particular encampment going on SR 54 as well. They are at that Walmart property again, behind the Desire nightclub, but they're coming back and forth from the Chinese restaurant that is on SR 54 there, that's been closed down for several years. Now, I know the sheriff's department has gone over there and tried to work with some of those people, but their hands are really tied, just like you said. If there's not a trespass agreement in place, once that particular property gets condemned, they're really there. So I know that the church across the street is really doing a great effort in cutting down some of the woods on their property, and they've also been cleaning out a lot of the garbage that's been happening too. I appreciate you, Dawn, getting somebody over there. I called the brigade, Ethan at the brigade one point for the encampment up on SR 54 at the Chinese restaurant. And it seems as though I haven't seen them there for the last week. So hopefully Ethan was successful in getting them to move on to the next spot, which is hopefully not the one on US 19 now. But, let's get them all in one place and figure it out. Marcy, did you have a comment? Okay. Anybody else have any other comments on what we discussed today or anything in the future?
I just want to add real quick, when you're responding to an email that's coming from us, the staff, if you'll just hit reply to whoever it's going to, that way everybody else doesn't necessarily get it and get the alerts. And just as a reminder, it is all public record. So just a friendly note.
Thank you, Jeff. Melissa, anything from you? Okay. Sunit, any final comments? thank you for being here today, and we're looking forward to your report the next meeting. So, Marcy, you want to close anything? Okay. All right, then I'll adjourn the meeting unless anyone's got anything else to say. Thank you all. We'll see you on the 30th.